Welcome everybody, Roy here, and here we are again at a second session of raising energy. I'm going to raise the yoga energy. So let's get straight into it. We're looking at how to raise energy in the body, and we're looking at how to do it through the 5 elements. And if you think about it, I was explaining last week as a quick reminder, is we have gravity that draws us down towards the earth. At the same time, there's a subtle rebound effect that comes up. So as we rest down through our bones, we get this lift up through our muscles. So the arches of the feet, the pelvic floor, the core, the trunk of the body, arms and legs, everything, all the muscles are to do with giving a lift up through. And in that, it opens up the joints of the body. And as it opens up the joints of the body, it gives us mobility. And because of the resistance into the earth, that gives us tone. So now we've got strength in our bodies and we have mobility. And then as we go further into our body, we have our flexibility. So that's a natural force that works within us. But equally, you go through the layers of the skin, layers of the muscles, the fascia, the connective tissue, right into the joints, the bones, right into the central nervous system, is we have our nervous system. So that when the joints are open, our nervous system is open and free. So what we're looking to do with raising the energy is to get through to our nervous system and begin to invigorate it, is begin to get it moving. And the body understands the connection between itself and the earth, that pressure and that connection. So what we're going to look at today is the bounce, is how do we get into that root and rise? How do we get into the bounce? And then how do we get into that bounce and start to bring it through the different elements? So literally you have the bounce of the earth, but then you have the fluid bounce. So here's the bounce, but here's the flow. Is you have expansion and contraction, but again, you can be bouncing in it and it can give you big energy. And then you have the lightness of the space. And as you have the lightness of the space, you can bounce very lightly. And in that, we're in this spaciousness itself. So you get this beautiful sense of a vibrating space, like a bouncing space. And what we're doing is we're beginning to layer all the different elements into the earth element. And in that, the body innately understands that connection. So we're going to tease that out today, yeah? So there's a couple of things we're going to do. One, I'm going to talk you through it very simply and do all the different processes of it, the steps of it. We've got to talk about inhibitions in that. And then the second thing we're going to do is this session comes in two parts. So there's the talk through part, and then the second part is what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a bit of music, and I'm just going to freestyle. And as I freestyle, is you can follow along, and you can just start getting into the energetics of it. And again, it's about raising the energy, and we're focusing on the bounce today. So how we're going to do that? It's like a silent disco. So I have uploaded a playlist onto our Yago Yoga playlist on Spotify. And then go find it on Spotify. And then when you find it on Spotify is when I do the video, is you'll see I'm going to have my earphones on. We'll press play at the same time. And then we're going to just engage with the different rhythms and have a bit of fun with it. Yeah. So it's freestyle, but I will also systematically go through the different rhythms. So you'll see if I'm doing this, if I demonstrate this, it's the earth. Does that make sense? Where if I'm in the flow, is you'll see I'm in the flow. Where if I'm in the fire, I'll demonstrate I'll be the expansion. And then I'll be the lightness. I'll be floating in the lightness. And then there'll be sometimes it'll be just the big spaciousness of it. But I'll bring the balance into all the different elements in the freestyling today. Yeah, it'll be a bit of fun. But again, we need to talk about something. We need to talk about inhibitions. Okay, so this is the challenge. As you go through your day, all the different things you do, from all the rooms of your life, all the people you meet in those rooms of your life, and then all the situations you're dealing with, whether it's your own sitting room to work, to sitting on the Lewis or on a bus or anywhere in a cafe, anywhere at all, is we have all these normal actions that we do. And normally what we do is we do a lot of standing, we do a lot of walking, we do a lot of sitting, we do a lot of lying down. generally they're the general moves through the day, and we can be quite unconscious in them. We go about them, we don't need to think about them, and they can be very set. Then we have different forms of workout. So into yoga, and you do all the beautiful moves and get into the tone and the release and the flow and all these different aspects. Gorgeous. You go to a gym, you can play sports, you can go for a walk. There's lots of things we do where there's those other forms of movement. So now is how many movements do you have in your body normally as you go through your day, your week, or your month, compared to how many movements you potentially could have in your body? So the body moves in an infinite amount of space, and we can get very caught up in the ones we're used to and get familiar with. And then they can be a bit like a set of clothes on us. We engage with those movements and they become our clothes, so to speak. So if you think about raising energy, is really what we're looking to do is open up space. So anytime you open up a space, on this planet we live on, anytime space opens up, energy flows in. Life abhors a vacuum. So energy flows in. So in that, anytime we open up space in the body, energy flows in. If enough energy flows in, is we start to get that uplifting, rising sensation. It's one of the reasons why we like the activities that make us feel good, is that it releases energy. And we open up space, and then we get that renewed sense of energy from it. So you get the idea. Now, if you allow yourself to move spontaneously and allow yourself to move in free form and then just look for the space to different movements that you could do in your body, is what would happen if you brought that in as an aspect of an element to your life, a practice to your life. That you just went into free flow and just let your body be free and explore spaces it never moved into before. It's sort of like taking off all our clothes. It's revealing, so to speak. That's why people are shy when it comes to movements, because it can be quite revealing in itself. Again, we're doing this online, so I'm assuming you're going to be on your own or you're with people you're comfortable with. So you might be willing to be a little bit more uninhibited in your movement than you may normally if this is in a public arena, so to speak. So all I'm trying to say to you is be willing to explore the unfamiliar. And all it is that you're doing a movement or feeling a sensation in your body that you might not normally be used to be feeling. You might not be familiar to it, and then be open to it. And then be open to explore it, tapping into the space and the energy within it. And today we're looking at the earth element more. So let's get some basic things done, yeah? Is you want to separate your feet 4 to 6 inches apart or so. And that with a slight little soft, subtle little bend in your knee, just a small bend, it allows you to ground your feet. It activates your center of gravity, because a lot of times we can unconsciously lean into the back of the knee and we're disengaging our center of gravity. So slight soft knee, all of a sudden you find yourself swaying a little bit. Now to balance out your center of gravity is begin to sway around the 4 corners of your feet. So there's the big toe, the little toe, the inside of the heel, the outside of the heel. And as you sway around the 4 corners, it grounds the feet more. It gives you that connection into the earth more. So we're centering ourselves, we're centering our weight, and we're distributing it evenly around the soles of the feet. And then notice how it's like a massage. It's pressure, and then it's release. There's a pressure as I go to one leg, and then I release off as I go to the other. So very much like a massage. And it is already part of that root and rise where we're pressing down and we're lifting up. So when I lean on my right foot more, I feel my left foot, I feel the lift through my right. It's an easing. When I sway over to my right foot, I feel the pressing down. I feel the little lift through my left. And I'm swaying. And part of our active balance is that we're spontaneously moving in our bodies. So what does that mean? Is that the muscles of the legs are toning without us tensing them. So I can feel the tone in my legs as I sway around them, but I'm not tensing my legs. So that's allowing me to come into the natural tone, the spontaneous tone. But part of that is the release. I also feel the release. It's very, very soothing. So we're coming consciously into our center of gravity and coming into our ground. And the more we do this, more and more of the body begins to work as one, as we're swaying, and all the body is swaying as one. Now think about the tone in your feet, and I want you to mimic it in your hands. If you just leave your hands down like this, a little bit facing forward a little bit, is if you straighten your fingers and separate them a little bit, it creates a tone in your hand. Now mimic the tone in your feet and with your hands. And again, use your intuition. Whatever you think it is, that's what it is. And you're going to start to feel a tone in your forearm, in your upper arm, in your shoulder, across the top of the shoulder, through the back of the neck and across the top of the chest, and then breathe. Breathe a little into your navel, a little into your rib cage, a little into your upper chest. And again, it gives you that sense of all of your body moving as one. And as you draw deeper into your breath, you'll find that you feel that sense of sway moving from the inside out. You're tapping into your inner body. Now, a nice way to describe it is there's the tone in your feet, the tone in your hands. Now, think about your muscles as a pair, or your lungs as a pair of muscles, which they are. Your lungs are a pair of muscles. I want you to slow your breathing down enough that you can feel the tone of your lungs. So it's just a gentle sway. And what you're doing is, as you sway, like your sway is like a pendulum from foot to foot, your inhale and your exhale is like a pendulum in and out, is match up the pace. Breathe at the same pace that you're swaying, and then breathe deep enough, which doesn't need to be too deep, but deep enough that you can actually feel the tone of your breath, the tone of your lungs. And then have the tone of your lungs match the tone of your hands and match the tone of your feet. And you find yourself going a little deeper into your body. Your awareness is being drawn deeper into your body, and you find yourself breathing your center of gravity. And it very much helps you focus your mind, because as you move at this fluid pace for your center of gravity, as you breathe at this fluid pace, is what happens that your thoughts begin to move at the same pace. And as your thoughts move at the same pace, it's like the sensations in the body. The thoughts can be just sensations in the mind, but our awareness comes to the fore. So notice how your senses heighten a little bit. You're watching, you're listening, you're feeling, and with a greater sense of clarity. Your concentration is beginning to focus itself. And it's on your center of gravity. And that tone, and then the release. The pressure, and then the release. It's like a massage. And then inhaling, and exhaling. All at your own pace. You don't need to overthink it. You just need to flow and feel it, and then feel the rightness of it. You're just tapping into your intuitive sense of your center, the rightness of it. Now, we're going to start looking a bit more at the earth. So what we're going to do is we're going to bounce the knee a little bit. So I'm starting to bounce through my knee joint. Now I'm not mechanically bouncing my knee. It's literally, it's a little vigor. It's a little vigor. So you can see that little bit of vigor there. Okay, and I'm bouncing through the knee joint rather than bending the knee joint. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because that has my feet press into the floor. It's like I'm bouncing in the floor. I'm actively rooting and rising, pushing and releasing with my feet into the floor through my knees. So we've got our muscles, we've got our bones and our joints, but we also have our fascia, connective tissue. It's a bit like the white of an orange, and it permeates the whole body and helps hold the structure of the body together. Is you've got the fascia, you've got the ligaments around the joints, and we're basically just gently bouncing through that. And it has its own tone, and then it has its own little bit of vigor. Now in that, you're going to notice that you're going to start to feel the earth more. So literally is you start to feel the root of the earth. It feels like your feet are going deeper into the floor itself. Your connection is getting stronger. Now it's like a three-dimensional experience, because what happens is that you start to feel the tone in your legs more. You don't feel your calves, your thighs, your inner thighs, your hamstrings, your glutes. You're just going to start to feel the tone come up your leg more. And what's happening is that you're rooting your body. You're bringing your body into that greater sense of earthiness, of tone. And there's a lovely sense of stability in it. Now notice not once have I asked you to tense a particular muscle, but yet you can feel that tone, but there's still also that release. So even if I do it with my hands here, is the tone of my hands is the same as the tone of my feet. So now when I do this with my arms, I'm actually gently pumping my arms all the way into my upper body, because the tone of my hand, remember all the tone all the way through, now we're just pumping in that tone. Okay, now remember what I said about inhibitions, is this is where you might need to, take some new movements in and play around with them. And if you feel like you look a bit silly, it's probably because you do, is be okay with it. So what? It's just a bit silly. Get into the energy of it though. Get into the tone of it. Get into the bounce of it. And just start to feel it. Imagine you're doing this to your favorite music. It actually gets very energizing. But even in this here, is you can feel the energy of itself. But when we play with the music, it's a good bit of fun. It'll be much more, you can spontaneously start to play with the music as it comes in. Because every piece of music is part of the elements. If you think about drums is all about the earth. So when the drum comes in, you can start playing around with it, with the earth element, so to speak. And you have the air, you have the strings, you have the wind. Does that make sense? There's lovely flow in music. You have the fire, the expansion and the contraction. You have those big sounds that are just like space itself. So literally every sound is an aspect of the elements. So imagine you're playing a piece of music and you just merge into the piece of music. Is that you're literally playing all the sounds of the song. And at one point you just find yourself just being all the elements in the music. Absolutely gorgeous. Now remember last week, keep doing the bounce by the way. Remember last week, I talked about the central nervous system, and then think about taking your central nervous system out and having a look at it. Is you'd see the brain stem, the central nervous system, all the nerve threads to the nerve endings. And literally you'd see the shape of your body. And I was saying to you, imagine it's like an instrument. And as you play the instrument, is you're playing all the strings of the central nervous system. So now think about the elements within that, is you're using all the elements to activate the central nervous system. So when you start to do to a bit of music, is you really get into it. Okay, it's great fun. Okay, so now this is down. This is very rooting. Notice how your feet are really rooting down. You get that real sense of groundedness. And in our stability class, is you're rooting down to really find that ground beneath you. Is how much do you need to root down until you find one ground beneath you? So that all the ground you walk on is the one ground. You're not walking in lots of different grounds. It's just one ground within you. At a physical level, what would happen if that was at an emotional, energetic level, at a mental level? That the present moment that you walked around in, that you lived in, is you found the one ground within that. And you stayed on that ground. It's much easier to hold one space than it is to hold lots of different spaces. So I'm not saying it's easy, is the simplicity of it is that you conserve a huge amount of energy. Huge amount. So look, here's the earth element. Now notice, there's a natural spring in the body. There's a natural spring. We're not compounding joints. There's no compounding. We're just gently bouncing. That's all it is, with a little bit of vigor. Now, the second movement is we've got the rooting down, and this is what this one does. It roots down, but there's the rise up. So the rise up is, you can see I'm bouncing, I'm rooting down. So I'm going to change gears. So rather than emphasizing the knee bouncing forward, I emphasize the knee bouncing back. So when I emphasize the knee bouncing back, now I feel the root down, but at the same time, I feel the rise up. So when I bounce the knee back, is my thighs draw up more, my pelvic floor draws up more. I feel the lift coming up through me. Okay, so we're just bouncing into the back of the knee. Now this is the challenge with it, is that you're not thrown, remember it's not this mechanical throwing the knee back, is you're still actively engaged in the floor with your feet. And that when you bounce the knee back, it's still within its mobility. We're not throwing it back into a passive lock. You're not just locking out the back of the knee. It's still in its fluidity. So that as you bounce, Okay, so I'm trying to keep this going and talk to you. Is there you go. So this is a little bit more challenging than the bouncing forward because it roots you down. Is you want to bounce back to lift up. So there's that subtle lift up through. There we go. Now I'm in the rhythm of it. Is that gentle bouncing back into the knee. I feel the rooting down and I feel the lift up through. Okay, now in this one, I'm controlling my pelvis a little bit more. So I send my tailbone, I send the base of my spine, I send my tailbone slightly down, and in that, my pelvic floor draws up. At the end of my tailbone, there's a bunch of ligaments that are connected to my perineum, my pelvic floor. So when I send the tailbone down and gently bounce back, as I get that core tone, my pelvic floor draws up, the trunk of my body tones a little bit more, and I start to feel that lift up a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm just going to gently sway in it. I'm bouncing back. So we're getting the root and the rise, the root and the rise. So you'll see me doing this later on in the freestyle. We get into the root and the rise. And again, things like this, you can see I'm bringing this in with my knees. As my knees bounce back, I'm bouncing with my elbows. I'm bouncing with my hands. And I'm keeping my hands active. I'm keeping my hands active. So again, you can see the motion where if I was going down, I'm doing this. Okay, I'm down here where when I see the shift. Okay, there we go. I'm down here. Can you do this here? Can you go down? And then as you start to bring it up, knees go back, up it goes. It's a different energy. As you can feel the rooting and the rising at the same time. Okay, now we're just playing with gravity, by the way, playing with the force of gravity. It's in this environment we live in, so it's in our bodies as much as the outer environment, and we're just playing around with it. We're just playing around with the earth element, and we're just getting used to connecting to the earth element. Now, if we wanted to bring flow into it, see this here? Just a simple one. Can you do this? Can you allow yourself to stay the bounce and then flow at the same time? So there's lots of ways to do it. Now the flow state, let's have a look at what the flow state is so we get that, yeah? So let's ease off in the bounce for a sec. Is look at this. I'm in my sway, I'm just swaying from foot to foot. And I'm just letting my arms sway from side to side. And then notice how, as I sway in my center of gravity, I'm just allowing my hands to sway in the same center of gravity. If I take them out like this, I'm still in the sway of my center of gravity, and I'm just in a gentle flow. Now the flow, like the pendulum, it goes to one side, it doesn't stop. There's a moment of pause, and then it changes direction. So that's the trick with the flow state, is that, see here, I all the way, and then back I come. Woohoo! Okay, all the way out here, and back I come. As opposed to this, I'm here, and then I'm there. And then I'm here, and then I'm there. There, and then I'm there. It's all jittery, where the flow state is seamless. So you gotta start off nice and steady. It's like you glide. And as you glide, you start off slow and you move into the space. As you reach the peak of the movement, you finish it slowly, so the moment of pause, and then you're off in the opposite direction. And the same thing, you glide out of the pause, you glide into the pause, and then out again. So it's just getting used to the flow state, and that's fluidity. If you think about it in yoga practice, again, it's those flow classes. Ultimately, in a flow class, it's the flow state itself. And then can you layer that through all the different postures and stay in that seamless motion, so to speak. Okay, so it's good fun. So I think I mentioned last week, you'll also see it in the waves. You follow the wave up the beach. It's the final wave, the last moment of the wave, and it doesn't stop. It pauses for a moment before it returns. So now the flow state with the earth element. Look, I'm just bouncing a little bit. I'm bouncing, just letting it happen, but I'm still in the flow state. Boing, 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 just bouncing. Look, all I did was rotate my wrists. I'm still in the flow state. That makes sense? Turn the wrist. There's lots of things we can do. Again, this is a little bit like Simon Says. So I want you to practice this while I'm doing it. See if you can do it with me. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, but can you be in the flow state and bounce? Wherever you happen to find yourself in that, super duper, keep following that, keep doing that. Okay. Again, if I change the bounce to up, here I am. But look, I'm still in the flow state. It brings me more into my upper body, up into that upper space. When I bounce down, look, it brings me down. I'm down here more. Now I can be still up here, but my focus is still on down, still down here. But when I bounce back, it's much easier to come up into this space. Now look at the way I'm moving. Look, I'm just exploring the limits of my motion. Does that make sense? Look, I'm staying in my center. I'm moving through my center of gravity. I'm in the root and the rise. I'm in the earth element. And then I'm flowing and just testing the limits to where I am. And all I'm really doing is moving in rotations. But the tone I have in my hands and the tone I have in my feet is now mirrored all the way through. And I'm breathing it at the same time. So now I don't have to think about the tone in my arm. I just follow the tone in my arm. Woo-hoo. Does that make sense? And the tone keeps me in my center of gravity. And then I release and back at home. So I'm using my hands and my feet to maintain the integral tone all the way through my body, and equally the tone of my lungs. It's really keeping the trunk of my body engaged and really working into it. Again, look, you can see I'm still in the flow, but I'm going deeper into the earth. You can see this. Down I go, but I'm also in the flow. Okay, so I'm just giving, look at those tides working, floating them up and down. Okay, so I'm just having a bit of fun, by the way. But you can see about the inhibitions part. Are you willing to just explore and surprise yourself with what positions you find your body in? But even more importantly, is how nice it feels. This feels gorgeous. The body loves this. This is all about the central nervous system just playing itself. Just playing the strings of the central nervous system. The more we get into this, we'll start playing the different energies. We'll start to pump out the heart energy, pump out the personal power. We can bring up our vitality, our sacral. We'll power out the radiance of our life force. There's lots of things we can do, but fundamentally, we got to master the earth elements and bring those earth elements to life within us. And then you learn them into different chakras and they take on another experience again. For now, let's move into the expansion, the fire, okay? So back to a gentle sway, back to a center of gravity. And what I want you to do is this, expand and contract. That's all you're doing. We're expanding, very simple, and contracting. A very simple motion of big and small. Okay? Just getting into that sense. Now you can do it in your breath as well. And when you do that, you can really work right into your spine itself and put big energy into your spine, big energy into your central nervous system. So this is just a simple example of it. Now fire is also like a flame, it flickers. So you see this here? You flicker like this and this will generate a lot of heat. Generate a lot of heat. Okay, you can do it with your head if you want. You can do it with your hips if you want. You can do it any part of your body and just get it to shake. Okay, and it activates a lot of the body. Just a bit of shaking. Or we could move into the bigger expansion and contraction. Now, if we want to bring the earth into it, again, is we bounce and we move into the bigness of things. See this here? And again, it's lovely to play with the center of gravity and the counterbalance here, over here, like a seesaw. We can be bouncing in the seesaw of things. Okay, it's really good. We can flicker. Try this one. Now this one here, I'm doing the hips. See the hips? I'm just flicking the hips. At the same time, a little bounce. So now my tailbone is literally like a tail. I'm just shaking the tailbone. I'm bouncing at the same time. Again, this is quite vigorous. Look, I'm doing lots of little flickering. It's very energetic. You really feel the heat the more you get into this. This really shakes up. See, you do the shaking. This really shakes up the central nervous system. You get these big waves coming in. Now again, you can think of it as a bit of free music. You're in the lovely sound of like an ocean, a wave of ocean, or a rising sensation of a big sound coming up. And you're just moving into it. It's gorgeous. But look at what the central nervous system is doing. Look at that. It's an expression of expansion. There's a beautiful rising sensation. Look, there's a releasing down sensation. And we can go down into that. And we can expand into that. And we're in the air and we're going down into it. And we get down here and we do this. Okay, if we separated our feet out a little wider, see this here? Again, this is going to bring in our hips a little bit more. Really gets the sacral energy going. You get the solar plexus going. You'd really work with the trunk. And again, see these motions here? It gets very powerful with the legs. And again, I'm just showing you some ideas. Oh, look, now we're getting into the sway of the spine. Really nice. Get these rotations going. This is beautiful for getting the energy moving up. But this motion is down. This motion is up. Down and up. Up and out. Again, think about the central nervous system. Not my arm, not my muscles, not my joints or my bones, but my nervous system and all the movements. And then it just moves like waves. And the heat is really beginning to build in my central nervous system. You can hear him having to breathe. And when I talk, it's making me breathe more. The heat is rising. I've got to bring in the air. Okay? So look, here I am in the lightness of things. So as I move into lightness, it's like moving in micro movements. So look, I'm back in my center of gravity. I want you to move in micro movements. And in that, see those micro movements? All those micro movements soften out the tone. It makes the effort much lighter. And we're just in that floating sensation within the body. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're still grounded. We're still moving in our center of gravity. And then if we start to bring the bounce in, as we're bouncing, and again, it's like we're bouncing on waves of air. It's like we're floating in the bounce. We're in the earth element, but we're also in the air element. And it's super nice, in the lightness of it. Okay. So the trick is micro movements. It's almost like it's like a sense of moving in slow motion, but it's not slow as in heavy. It's slow as in light. There's a lightness to it. Only putting enough effort in just to be light, grounded, and light lifts up through. And remember, there's that rooting down sensation. There's that more subtle lifting up sensation. So think about what is the touch that you need to put into your body. That is that lightness itself. That when you touch your body, connect to your body in that lightness of touch, it automatically brings in the lift, the rising sensation. Now, if you're practicing postures, and the longer you hold the posture, the less effort you're putting in because you surrender to the ground. You actively resist a little bit, and that gives you a beautiful lift up through. The less effort you put in, the more energy you get in return because you're allowing that lightness to come through. The more you feel the lightness, the more energy you're getting from your practice. That's the way it works. So in the root and rise, you activate your ground, you come into your center of gravity, you Now activate your lines of force and you channel the lightness up through your body. You're just doing it in free flow. We're just in the free flow and the energetics of it. This is a more subtle part of the practice where you learn all the principles and then you put them into free flow to really activate your central nervous system. So the more you get used to engaging with your energy and activating your elements, that's going to take you into your central nervous system. It's going to activate your chakras. So this is the grounding into that, if that makes sense. Where in postures, you'd be grounding into the stability, the root and the rise, get your alignment right, get your lines of force working. In the core class is, okay, now you've got your lines of force, you've got your center from the outside in. Now activate your breath in your core and work your alignment from the inside out. And you're shifting from physical effort to energetic effort. That's what you're doing. And then as you refine that, what you want to do is then bring in the flow state. Now move in the flow state. So you're flowing from the inside out. And then you're doing that through a sequence of postures, and you're just having a bit of fun with the postures, challenging yourself in all the different complexities of the postures. But then you can do all that also in freestyle. And freestyle is where you get to systematically start engaging with the energetics and then more structurally starting to work with the chakras. Okay, so we're in the lightness of things, okay, the earth element of them, Now we have the ether. So the ether is the spaciousness itself. So if you think about all the four elements on the earth, they all happen within the atmosphere that is the space we live in. So that's the ether, the space it all happens in. So the ether can be experienced, there's two nice ways to come into it. It can be the bigness of the space, its spaciousness itself. It's just moving that in that sense of spaciousness. And when you expand that spaciousness out, you just come into a boundless state. A boundless state. And there's a beautiful freedom in that, gorgeous freedom in that. And very much the freedom of the crown chakra. And think about taking the freedom and bringing it into the earth, the rootedness, the root chakra. Now bring it into your life force. Now bring it into your personal power. And just be in the spaciousness, the freedom of it. So you can imagine how the energy rising through a particular chakra can get very, very strong. So now you have to ground yourself in all the other elements before you even start to try them. Okay, so you've got to come into the earth element. You've got to ground yourself. You've got to allow yourself to flow freely. You've got to be able to expand and contract. You've got to be able to be light in it. And they're all aspects of control of the spaciousness itself. So when you're able to open up space and incrementally bring the energy in and systematically build it, now you're ready to start working on more specific frequencies. Everybody get what we're doing? So that's what we're doing, whether it's the posture classes, the pranayama classes, the meditation classes, the energy classes, the chakra classes, the kundalini classes. It's all the simple skill of mastering space. That's what you're looking to do. Master space. Your ability to create space and bring consciousness and energy up through it. Okay, that's the simplicity of it. Okay, so now come back to a nice simple sway. A nice simple sway. Let your eyes close for a sec. Let your eyes closed. Bring a little tone into your hands if it's not already there. And just let the tone in your feet and the tone in your hands keep your body engaged. And follow into your breath and find that pacing of your breath that allows you to feel the tone in your lungs. A little bit of movement in your navel, your rib cage and your upper chest. Very simple. You don't need to think about it. Just feel it and let yourself sway in it like you're swaying your body. Swaying in your breath, just allowing your awareness to sway in that same momentum. So very nice, very calm. Then as you breathe and feel that tone in your body, you're earthing yourself into your body. Then that lovely sway and tone in your breath, you're earthing yourself into your energetic body. And then notice how your awareness has come to the fore. So you're feeling with awareness, you're listening and watching with awareness, and that you're grounding yourself into your awareness itself, your consciousness, and you're just bringing the earth element up through yourself. Okay, and then allow yourself to flow in that. So as you feel that lovely fluid connection in your body, that's you layering in the water element. You're flowing in your body, you're flowing in your breath, and you're connected to it, and you're flowing in your awareness, you're flowing in your concentration, and you're also connected to it. Now you're layering the earth and the water together. Now notice that lovely sense of pressure and release. Notice the expansion and the contraction in your body. Notice the heat and the sensation of it. You're bringing the fire element and grounding that into your body, connecting into it. Notice that beautiful expansion and contraction in your breathing. Notice the cool air flowing in and the warm air flowing out. And you're connecting into the energetic body and the expansion and contraction in that. And then notice how you've got that lovely sense of openness in your awareness, that your mind is expanding and you're just in that lovely expansion of your awareness. And there's times when it contracts and you focus on one specific thing and then it expands out to the space itself. That's you centering yourself in the fire element in your awareness itself. And you're just simply swaying in your body. That's all you're doing, but you're layering the elements and you're layering it with awareness. But notice that lovely subtle sway in your body and that lightness within the touch. Put the smallest amount of effort that you can into the touch of your body. Notice how sensitive and how subtle, how light that touch is. It's just beautiful. And bring it into your breath. Just breathe with the subtlest of effort. The smallest amount of effort to just feel your breath. And then even with your focus, the minimal amount of effort to just be the watcher, the listener, and the feeler. And that this lovely sense of gliding effortlessly in yourself. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then you're just flowing in the spaciousness of your body. All of your body is moving as one. And you feel that beautiful connection of all your body moving as one. In that connection, there's just lots and lots of physical space. And you're just flowing in the freedom of it. And the same in your breath. Notice the ease of your breath. Notice the spaciousness. Just notice how free and easy it is to just be in the natural flow of your breath. And then notice the effortlessness with which you're aware. And the effortlessness in your concentration. And that beautiful spaciousness within yourself. And you're just bringing all the elements into one space and have them all integrated, working together. Now next week, I'm going to take you through exactly the same thing. We'll bring in the water and we'll flow all the elements into the water. And then I'll introduce the ether to you, where we'll play a little bit of the chaoticness of the elements. We move all the elements in chaos. The one that's holding the center is the ether. So that as you hold the space itself, even chaos has a pattern. And as you hold the ether, you're holding the center of the chaos. And it's allowing us to explore the complexities of the body or emotion or the thought or the complexity of the situation in life. The more you're able to experience those elements in chaos and hold the center, it becomes very, very powerful. Energy is rising. Even chaotic energy can rise and be channeled. Okay, super duper. It'll be a great conversation. But for now, you can gently open your eyes. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.